If you've ever noticed that you don't have a big group chat buzzing all day, that you can go weeks without seeing most people, that your phone stays quiet more often than not, you've probably also heard it before. You're so private. You should get out more. Why don't you have a bigger circle? It doesn't look like a big deal, but it says more than people think. Because people who keep their circles small usually aren't antisocial, they're selective. And selective connection isn't coldness. It's a preference for depth over stimulation. You might be someone who has one or two people you truly talk to, not just casually. Not just memes and surface updates, but real conversations, the kind where silence isn't awkward and you don't feel the need to perform. At the same time, you might avoid large gatherings. You might hesitate before letting someone new get close. You might take a long time to trust, and even longer to open up. On the surface, that can look distant, reserved, even uninterested. But underneath, something else is happening. People who keep their circles small are often highly aware of emotional energy. They notice tone shifts, micro-expressions, subtle changes in behavior. They pick up on tension in a room before anyone names it. Social interaction isn't just hanging out, it's processing. When they choose to connect, it's intentional. Because connection isn't light for them, it's immersive. And immersion requires safety a lot of the time. This pattern starts early. If you grew up in an environment where relationships felt unpredictable, where moods changed quickly, where trust wasn't always consistent, where you had to read the room to stay emotionally safe, you learned something important. Not everyone gets access to you. You became careful with vulnerability, you observed before you engaged. You tested before you trusted. That's not arrogance, it's protection. When you've experienced emotional inconsistency, you don't crave more people. You crave reliable people. Instead of quantity, you seek stability. And stability isn't loud. People with small circles also tend to value depth over frequency. They don't need to talk every day to feel close. They don't need constant reassurance. But they do need authenticity. Small talk drains them. Forced enthusiasm drains them. Social competition drains them. But one honest conversation can energize them for days. That's because their nervous system isn't looking for stimulation, it's looking for meaning. And meaning doesn't happen in crowded spaces, it happens in focused ones. Most people assume that having a small circle is about introversion, but the real reason isn't always about personality type. It's often about standards. Not high standards in a dramatic way. Quiet standards. Standards for emotional reciprocity, for loyalty, for depth, for presence. If someone repeatedly cancels plans, they don't get angry, they just adjust access. If someone gossips constantly, they don't confront, they just pull back. If someone makes them feel subtly small, they don't argue. They mentally move them to the outer circle. They rarely announce these shifts, but they happen. Because for them, closeness is earned through consistency, not charisma. And once trust is broken, it doesn't reset easily. That doesn't mean they're unforgiving. It means they don't forget patterns. They're pattern-oriented people. And that shapes everything. Another trait you'll notice is emotional self-sufficiency. People with small circles often learned to sit with their feelings alone. They process internally, they journal in their head, they replay conversations quietly instead of calling 5 friends to analyze them. This can look independent, strong, unbothered, but it's not always about strength. Sometimes it's about familiarity. If you didn't grow up feeling deeply understood, you stopped expecting to be. You became your own safe place. You don't reach outward easily. Not because you don't need people, but because you learned not to rely too heavily on them. And over time, that becomes identity. I'm just someone who keeps a small circle. But identity is often just adaptation repeated long enough to feel natural. There's also something else. People who keep their circles small are usually highly protective of their time. Not in a productivity-obsessed way, in an emotional way. Time spent with someone isn't just time, it's exposure. Exposure to their energy, their opinions, their expectations. So they don't say yes automatically. They consider how they'll feel after. Will this interaction feel balanced? Will it feel draining? Will it require performance? They might decline invitations without dramatic explanations. They might leave early. They might prefer one-on-one over groups. It's not about thinking they're better. It's about managing emotional bandwidth. And people who've felt overwhelmed socially before become very aware of that bandwidth. At the same time, there's a quiet loyalty in small circle people. When they let someone in, it's real. They remember details. They show up consistently. They defend privately. They don't rotate friends based on trends. They don't need 10 connections. They need a few solid ones. And when those few are threatened, it hits deeply. Because their world isn't spread wide, it's concentrated. Which means loss feels heavier. And betrayal feels personal. That's another reason they're cautious. It's not that they don't want connection, it's that connection costs them more. Sometimes people misread this as emotional detachment, but often it's the opposite. They feel a lot. They just don't distribute that feeling widely. Their warmth is selective. Their vulnerability is layered. Their trust unfolds slowly. And if you've ever been on the inside of someone like this, you know it's not shallow, it's steady. And steady doesn't advertise itself. So when someone keeps their circle small, it's rarely random. It's shaped by awareness, by past experiences, by nervous system patterns, by identity. It's shaped by knowing that not everyone deserves access to your inner world. And that depth matters more than numbers. Once you see that, the silence looks different. The limited contacts look intentional. The quiet weekends look chosen. It was never about being antisocial. It was about being selective. And selective isn't cold. It's careful. If this resonated with you, let me know in the comments. I'll read them. And if you value calm, honest breakdowns of human behavior, like and subscribe so more people who need this can find it. Understanding yourself is the beginning of everything.